Good morning, everybody. Welcome to week 4. Just a continuation of last night, as always. Final thoughts, questions, comments, concerns that you may have as it pertains to your starting lineup ahead of week 4 and figuring out the best course of action for your team. We'll take care of the most recent injury updates that we have received as of this morning, and there is a lot to get through. So whether you want any reassurances from any questions that you had last night, or if you have any new thoughts, or if there are any new questions as it pertains to what to do for your starting lineup today, we can sort all of that out ahead of the early window. I'll go through the latest injury updates. Give folks an opportunity to maybe start answering or asking questions as they have them. And we'll go from there. Let's see. Where did we leave off? Okay, we're good. Over. These are the updates that have rolled in overnight / this morning. Good news for the Saints. Alvin Kamara and Chris Olave are both expected to play today. So Alvin Kamara is a slam dunk in your lineup. Olave, in all likelihood, is as well. But if you happen to have really strong options at wide receiver, you could pivot off Olave, but you're going to have to be absolutely loaded. Davante Adams is reportedly considered week to week, so not great news if you have Davante Adams. Week to week generally means, he's obviously not playing today. It puts his status in week 5 in doubt. Not just it's something to monitor, but just straight up in doubt. That is typically a week-to-week diagnosis. So we could be looking at least a couple of weeks without Davante Adams. Not a good development there. Keenan Allen plans to play. Not a good development for Adams, especially, as a 30-year-old receiver dealing with a soft tissue injury. Not great. Keenan Allen plans to play today. He is a wide receiver 3. In a sputtering Bears offense, maybe Allen can give them a little bit of a boost. Maybe he helps them a little bit. Deebo Samuel plans to play. This is a huge course correction from what we were initially expecting when we got the news after week 2 that Deebo would potentially miss multiple weeks due to a calf strain. But Deebo is planning to suit up for San Francisco today against the New England Patriots. He makes it a little tricky as far as a start-sit because he does not play until the 4 o'clock window. But he's one of those players where if he's active, he's in your starting lineup. So plan to play Deebo, even if it means that your alternative is less than ideal option because his status is still not 100% confirmed. If you can, put Deebo in your flex in the event that your best alternative, in the event that it is an upset and he does not play, and that your best alternative is a running back. So put Deebo in your flex, maximize your flexibility, pun intended. In fact, I'm going to do that right now. Yep. Deebo in the flex, but you have to start him. So if you have Deebo and you need a backup plan in the event that he is unable to go, which at this point, it's looking likely that he will play. But if you need alternate options, put Deebo in the flex and let me know who you're thinking of as far as potential backups that you would need to pivot to if he was not to play. But good news all around for Deebo Samuel. His return is coming much sooner than expected. Gabe Davis expected to play. I guess that helps. The Jaguars offense. Rachaad White is expected to play week 4. He remains an RB3. I am okay moving off of both Bucs running backs if you can afford to. You may not be able to. White might be a guy that is like a flex play for you, and there's a drop off after him as far as the other options on your bench. But if you have competent alternative options, I am fine moving off of the Bucs running backs. White should be okay today, I guess. We'll have to see what happens with Bucky Irving. I have not seen anything about Bucky Irving's status. He remains questionable on the injury report with it was a hamstring, right, for Bucky? Double checking this. Which obviously hamstring you never want. Yeah, hamstring for Bucky. And he is going to play. Okay. Set to play week 4 against the Eagles. So the Bucs situation remains a timeshare. Both are floor plays right now, with Bucky potentially offering a little bit more pop in the run game. Rachaad obviously being a little bit more viable in PPR leagues. But ultimately, that's a situation that I'm not super enthusiastic about. Joe Mixon will not play today. That he was trending in the right direction after returning to practice this week, but ultimately Houston will hold him out for one more game. Dameon Pierce is also out for this game, so it's another week where you can comfortably fire up Cam Akers as a low-end RB2. Low-end RB2. Hopefully he comes through with a little bit of volume, and it's a great matchup. Great matchup against Jacksonville. Nothing scary about it at all. That is a team that appears to be on the verge of quitting. If Monday Night Football against the Buffalo Bills was any indication, Jacksonville looks about already ready to mail it in this year. Not a good sign ahead of week 4. There's only 15 more weeks to play. So the vibes are downright horrendous in Jacksonville, which means fire up your guys against their defense. So if you have Cam Akers, you can comfortably fire him up. I think that is the most up-to-date information as it pertains to week 4. We got a report overnight that Christian McCaffrey could return by early November, which would be an earlier return to play than I was anticipating. We'll see how accurate it is. After everything that has gone down with Christian McCaffrey this year, I am slow to trust updates until I see it come to fruition. But he's back from Germany after getting additional opinions on his Achilles tendonitis. It sounds like the 49ers have a plan to ramp him back up. However, he is still very much in his rehab process. So what a return to play looks like for McCaffrey still feels unclear. But good news if you happen to have Christian McCaffrey, I guess, at least face value. And then everything else is a holdover from yesterday. Jordan Love, you can fire up if you have him at quarterback, if you're between him and, Caleb Williams, Baker Mayfield, these other solid options, but they're not like slam dunk options. Love can be fired up over those guys. Possibly even over like a Brock Purdy or a Geno Smith with him playing at home, although it is a tough matchup against the Minnesota Vikings. So with that, not too many questions quite yet, which is totally fine. Maybe everybody's in a good spot today as far as figuring out what to do with their lineups. But as always, just as a caveat for anybody who is new to the ropes, I just got to do my spiel just to make sure that everybody's on the same page. If I see any members come in, which I don't yet, but if they do, they will get first priority getting their answer or getting their questions answered or comments responded to. That is a perk of being a member of the channel. You will get priority responses to your questions or comments. If you are feeling generous or so inclined, you could also send a super. That would be a line jumper as well. You don't have to, but that would cut the line as far as getting your questions answered in a priority order. And then I will get to everybody else. So I do just ask for some patience. But if you are appreciating the dialogue, appreciate the stream, and thank you as always for everybody coming in and hanging out, whether it's for 10 seconds, 10 minutes, an hour, whatever have you. I just ask that you like the stream for algorithm purposes. I appreciate that in advance if you could. Let's get into the questions that we have so far. Smith and Jigba or Mason. So and let me just another caveat. As much context as you guys can provide. Is it full PPR? Is it half PPR? Is it standard scoring? Do you start 3 receivers in a flex? Do you start 2 receivers in a flex? Is it super flex? Are there any bonuses in your scoring or any unique scoring settings that I should know about? Give me as much context as you possibly can, and that helps formulate ultimately my answer for you. For Smith and Jigba or Mason, I mean, it's Mason, even in what looks to be a bad matchup on paper. We got some good news about Christian McCaffrey that he could make his return, but his return is not today. So Mason goes right back to continuing being the RB1 for the San Francisco 49ers, who get a boost today with George Kittle returning, and it looks like Debo is going to make his return as well. On one hand, yeah, okay, the opportunities are more evenly distributed, but that's going to help Jordan Mason. When a team is at full strength and you can't key on any one guy, that helps more than it hurts in these types of situations. So you're firing up Mason. You're firing up Mason over Smith and Jigba. I mean, he's a slam dunk RB1 as far as, rankings going into the week. And Smith and Jigba came back to earth last week against the Dolphins. They didn't really need him all that much. The Dolphins killed the Seahawks killed the Tua-less Dolphins last week, so they didn't need to do as much through the air. But 3 for 39, tougher matchup on the road against Detroit. I'll take Mason. I'll take Mason. Geno or Jordan Love. So Geno's on the road in a tough spot against Detroit. Love is at home against Minnesota, possibly shaking off some cobwebs after a 2-week absence. Both are tough spots. Both are tough matchups. Detroit, by the numbers, is more gettable through the air than they are on the ground. The Vikings are actually same story, same wavelength. The Vikings are a brutal matchup on the ground. So this is not a good spot for Josh Jacobs, but you probably have to start him. But they can be had through the air. I would play Love at home. It's a risk. It's a risk because 2-week absence, tough matchup, division matchup. But the Packers wouldn't put their franchise out there if he wasn't 100% ready to play. I would play Love at home over Geno on the road. I would risk it for the biscuit, so to speak. I'll take Love. Because when healthy, Love is a top 8 to 10 option depending on the matchup, and Geno is more of like maybe a top 12 option. Love is just a slightly safer choice week to week. So I would go Love. As far as, and I can pin these messages so that everybody knows. what it is that I am referring to. Debo, Chuba, or Deontay. In this instance, if you can only play one of these guys, Debo's a stud, and you have to. I do subscribe to the notion of starting your studs. I love the spot for Deontay today against Cincinnati. I think you have to. I think I would play. I think I would play Deontay. I want to find a way to get Debo in there. So I would be curious to know who your other slam dunk starters are. But I think you need to get Deontay into your starting lineup. Yes, he was on the injury report this week, but he's not the one coming off of an absence. Debo missed week 3. Deontay played week 3 and played well. He is on the injury report, but expected to play. It's a great matchup, and he gets a boost from Andy Dalton. Debo is obviously the better player, but he's riskier. Coming off of the injury, what was expected to be a multi-week absence is now looking like just a 1-week absence, which is great news for Debo, but is he limited at all? Plus, he plays in the 4 o'clock window, and Deontay plays in the 1 o'clock window. So if you decide to wait for Debo and he ultimately doesn't play, then you can't play Deontay or Chuba because they play in the early window. Yeah, Jaden Reed. All right, I would play Jaden Reed over Debo. Okay. Wait on Debo for a week. I'm not crazy about it, admittedly. Debo's a stud, and generally speaking, you want to get your studs in your starting lineup. But in your specific situation, I would play Deontay because there does remain a possibility that Debo still doesn't go, and then you're screwed if you wait on Debo and then you don't have Deontay because he plays in the early window. Debo plays in the late window. I would play Deontay. I would play Deontay, and I would keep Jaden Reed in your lineup. He gets a boost he's fully healthy, no injury questions about Jaden Reed, and he gets his quarterback back. He gets Love back. So I'll play Deontay and Jaden Reed. Full PPR, Akers or Braylon Allen. You got to go Akers here. Always take the starter over the change of pace backup. And that's not a knock on Braylon Allen. He looks great, but he's behind Breece Hall. Akers is the guy today in a great matchup. Take the dude who's gonna get most of the opportunities. It might be pulling teeth. It was pulling teeth for Akers last week, but he came through with a touchdown. It's a good matchup this week. And they played the Vikings last week, right? That's a brutal matchup on paper. So Akers struggled on the ground. He caught a touchdown, but that's to be expected. The Vikings are a brutal matchup for opposing running backs, at least as far as stopping the run. This is a much softer matchup for them today against Jacksonville. You fire up Akers. Always take the 9.9 times out of 10, take the starter over the backup. Yeah. Akers over Braylon Allen definitively. Oh yeah, okay. This is a follow-up. You have Kamara, Saquon. Oh, this is a trade question. Kamara and Saquon, good. Cup is hurt. Okay. You're trading Jefferson and Montgomery for Harrison Jr. and Amon-Ra. I still think I say no to this trade. Because Kamara's going to play today, which is great, but he's banged up pretty good with injuries. Saquon also is not like has had, he misses time as well throughout the season, and that has been the case for his career dating back to his sophomore season. So, all these guys are injury risks. If you lose Montgomery, like, who are you down to? Who are you down to at running back? And, Marvin Harrison and Amon-Ra are two studs, but Jefferson's the best receiver in the game. I said no to this yesterday without knowing who your other running backs are, and now even knowing that you have really good options, I think my answer is still no. I think my answer is still I don't want to do this deal. Um, Saquon and Kamara are an elite 1-2 punch right now, but Kamara's banged up. And all it takes is one play for any of these running backs. If you don't have Montgomery, if after a trade, who do you pivot to in the event that you lose Kamara or Saquon? Obviously, we're not hoping for any injuries, but we know the realities of the NFL. Players get hurt, especially running backs. Kamara himself is he's on the injury report with multiple injuries right now. It's a dicey game to play. I never, unless it's just like a blatantly obvious move, I do not like trading running back depth without getting, even if it's like, if I'm upgrading big at wide receiver in a trade, let me at least get a depth running back, like an RB4 or 5 or a 5 or 6, just to get some depth back. I don't like making trades for where I give up a running back and don't get one in return. You have Moss and Chuba. That's fine. You might lose Chuba when Jonathan Brooks makes his return, which is soon. I think I still say no. I think I ultimately say no to this trade. It's not unfair. I'm just not feeling it. I'm not feeling it. I don't want to give up the best receiver and a rock solid running back who is on a great start to the season for two very, very good upper echelon wide receivers. Amon-Ra is elite in his own right, and Harrison could be on his way. I think I would just keep what you have, admittedly. That's my personal feelings. If you feel strongly about making the trade, I never want to deter people from ultimately doing what they want to do. I can only just provide my 2 cents. But I do not think I would make that move. What's going on, Greg? Happy Sunday, and happy Sunday to everybody. Let's get some wins today. What do you say? Fields over Love. Yes. Fields over Love we could always say it's easy. It's never easy. But on paper, the Colts are a very soft matchup on defense. I will take Fields, who is playing well for the Pittsburgh Steelers right now in this matchup. I think George Pickens is in a prime spot to have a good game, so that benefits Fields. I think Fields will continue to run. The Colts are giving up a lot of rushing yards per game to opposing offenses, most in the NFL right now through 3 weeks. I would play Fields. I would play Fields over Geno or Love. Yep, I feel better about Fields' matchup and situation than I do those two. You probably go back to Jordan Love next week, but let's give it a week. And you are figuring out a wide receiver 2 and a flex. And again, I'm just going to quickly repeat myself for anybody who's just joining. Appreciate you coming in and hanging out. I see your questions. I will get to them. But members do get first priority as a perk of the channel. As a perk of being a member of the channel, I will get to members out of order, and then I will get to everybody else. So appreciate your patience. I see your questions. Sit tight. We'll get to them after I sort out Greg's thoughts or lineup situation. Let's see. You need a wide receiver 2, and you need a flex. That's right. Debo, Jennings, Pittman. I'm not dropping Pittman, but I think he can firmly be on the bench, especially in this game against Joey Porter. I would pick up Akers. If Akers is available, I would pick up Akers for this matchup. I don't want to drop Pittman. You might be able to get away with dropping either Yossi or Dubs. But I would play Akers definitely over Bucky because Rachaad White is expected to play. I would find a way to pick up Akers. I guess I would drop. I guess I would drop Yossi because Dubs is trending up now with Love returning, and Josivac has been a touchdown machine through 3 weeks. But with T. Higgins fully back in the mix, I don't know that necessarily continues. I would probably drop Josivac, pick up Akers, flex Akers, and then your wide receiver 2 can be the San Francisco wide receiver that starts today. If Debo's in, you fire up Debo. If Debo is ultimately ruled out, you fire up Jennings. I think that's your move. Oh, Josivac and Dubs are options on waivers. Akers is already on your roster. Is that am I understanding that correctly? Okay, then ignore both of those wide receivers. Play Akers and then play the 49ers wide receiver that starts today as your wide receiver too. That's your move. That's your definitive move, in my opinion. I wouldn't play Bucky. Yes, he's set to go, but he's got the hamstring injury, or he's going to play, so I guess he's fine. But Rachaad White is expected to play as well. So this could just continue being a gross committee that is difficult to trust until one separates from the other. And right now it's looking like Bucky is the one set to eventually pull away from Rachaad White, but we got to see how that continues to play out. I'm good moving off of the Bucs backfield today if you can afford to. You might not be able to, but if you can, I would look to do that. So Akers in your flex, Greg, and then whichever 49ers wide receiver starts is your wide receiver 2. None of those other guys on waivers are enough to push over any of those other options. Yep. Akers and the 49ers wide receiver that starts. Hopefully it's Debo. If it's not, you have Jennings. But best of luck. Let's get these dubs. Okay. Where am I at in my spot in line? I got it. I got to this in Discord. If you are not a part of my Discord and you would like to be, it is free to join. Second link in the description of this live stream and all of the videos and streams on this channel. Evergreen invite, free link. I'm not always available over there, but you can crowdsource any questions or thoughts you may have with the community that is over there. So feel free to join if you are feeling so inclined. Am I starting Walker with confidence? Not that much confidence, but he's one of those dudes where you might just not have a better option. It is a really bad matchup. It is a really bad matchup. Again, the Detroit Lions are brutal against opposing running backs, but Walker is one of those dudes where if he's in all likelihood, you have to start him and hope for the best. I would go Walker over Wilson. It's close. It's definitely close. I guess, in full PPR, there's a little bit more of an argument for Wilson, but I think I'm ultimately going with Walker. It's not a good matchup, but he will be involved. They will get, they're gonna get him as many opportunities as they can. The Seahawks offense is playing well right now. Like, on one hand, yes, the Lions run defense is elite. But on the other hand, the Seahawks are an offense that you can buy into, you can believe in. If they're able to get it down into the red zone or obviously, ideally, the goal line, Walker will be the guy to get those opportunities over Charbonnet, at least, first man up. I would start Walker. I would not. I admittedly don't have a ton of confidence in him because of the matchup, but he's one of those dudes where you kind of just have to play him and hope for the best, which is a compliment. That's a compliment to Walker. He's a talented guy. He just has some issues staying healthy. But I would play Walker over Wilson. Chuba or Pollard in full PPR, and you are a favorite. You're projected to win, so you know you can roll with the move that makes the most sense. Pollard is on the road against the Dolphins, I believe. Um, Nothing scary about that matchup. Miami is decent against the run, but not shut down against the run. Chuba is playing Cincinnati, who is actually, they are a top 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They are 7th worst so far through 3 weeks against the run, allowing 142 yards per game. That is to Washington, who is a dominant run team. New England week 1, which is not a good offense. And who'd Cincinnati play week 2? Oh, right, the Chiefs. That was before Pacheco got hurt, so that makes sense as well. Yeah, I mean, it's a good spot for Chuba. I think I slightly lean Chuba. What's Pollard's? Is Pollard's not like on the injury report or anything, right? He had a bad week last week. He didn't play well. 6 carries, 14 yards, 3 catches, 15 yards. Not great. And I think Tajay Spears, did Spears outpace him last week? Not on the ground, but through the air, Spears did. Yeah, I'll say Chuba. I'll go with Chuba for one more week because his time might be running out. So, it's twofold. One, Chuba, I think, more definitively has a stranglehold on opportunities over Miles Sanders than Tony Pollard does over Tajay Spears. And this is Chuba's opportunity to showcase that he deserves to remain in the rotation even when Jonathan Brooks returns. It's a good matchup. Pollard cedes pass catching opportunities to Tajay Spears, so in full PPR, that hurts Pollard a little bit more than if it was a standard scoring league. I'll say Chuba. Slightly Chuba over Pollard. Yeah. Pollard bottomed out last week. Not that that'll happen again this week, but lost work to Tajay Spears. I'm not as confident in Tony Pollard. Let's see. Lost Trey McBride. So do you roll with Higgins or Parkinson? Ugh. Parkinson is hard to trust, even with Puka and Cooper Kupp still out of the lineup. Higgins is, headed toward a bigger role, but what does that role look like? I mean, it's a good matchup against Washington. I think it's a decent matchup for Parkinson as well. Against the Bears. I assume Zach Ertz is not available. Maybe if Ertz was probably already scooped off of waivers, so we're between Parkinson and Higgins. I tend to always, for better or worse, lean the guy who is the typical regular starter over the dude who's filling in out of necessity, if that makes sense. So I would say Parkinson. It's been tough to trust him, but this is a pretty good matchup. Figure they'll have to throw on the road. And it's like any one guy could come through when the regular starters are out. Parkinson is a regular starter, but Kupp and Puka are still out of the lineup, so he could come through any given week. He hasn't yet, but at least he's the regular starter. Higgins is filling in out of necessity. I have a more difficult time trusting that situation in a vacuum. I think I would lean Parkinson, even though he has not been great. He has not been great. If you have Kyler and you want to stack it up and hope for a 1 yard touchdown to Higgins, Okay, I would understand, but if you don't have Kyler, I would maybe just roll with Parkinson and hope for the best. Full PPR, Najee, Terry McLaurin, or Rome Odunze. This is straightforward for me today. It's Najee Harris. It's for the simple fact that Jalen Warren is out, and the Colts are getting cooked on the ground. They are giving up the most rushing yards through 3 weeks so far. And I know that's only a small sample size, but data is data, and that's what we have to go off of. The Colts are getting gashed on the ground, and Jalen Warren is out. Najee, he's going to see 20, 22, 23 opportunities today. Of course, in full PPR, that always gives a boost to a wide receiver, and it's not a scary matchup for Terry McLaurin, but just like the opportunity for Najee today is too strong for me to ignore. And not to completely discredit Rome Odunze, who has been solid, but Keenan Allen is returning today, so that potentially cuts into his opportunities a little bit. Najee is he has the clear-cut opportunities here. I would go Najee. Yeah. With no Jalen Warren in this matchup, Najee. I got this Jaden Reed Debo thoughts process, so we're good to go there. You're welcome. Hopefully I help everybody. That would be ideal. You lost McBride. Yeah, a lot of people are hurting at tight end this week in general. Trey McBride, Evan Ingram, David Njoku. Well, those guys have been out for weeks now, but McBride being out hurts. So I'm gonna keep going back to the well with old man Ertz. I don't know if anybody if you've caught me at any time this through the early portion of the season thus far, you maybe have heard me gas up Zach Ertz as a viable, competent fill-in at tight end. And at this point, he has like ascended beyond a fill-in. Ertz is a low-end tight end one and has been through, I think, every game this year. Even in, maybe not week one. Week one, he was quiet. But week 2 against the Giants, he had 4 for 60. Last week against the Bengals, he has 5 for 38. I know these specifics because I am streaming Ertz freaking everywhere, and he's getting it done. He's getting it done. He's, old man Ertz, that security blanket for the rookie quarterback who is playing great, by the way. Jayden Daniels is on fire. So I generally want to rock with guys when these are my decisions that I have to make and I have to sort out, a hodgepodge situation at tight end. Give me the guy attached to the best offense, the offense performing at the highest level right now, on top of being a regular contributor. Of these names, that's Ertz. Low-end tight end one the past 2 weeks. I'm riding that wave. And it's a revenge game. Y'all know the revenge game narrative. I'm big on it, maybe to a fault. I love the revenge game narrative. I love identifying players who are playing their old team, that little extra incentive. Some people don't think that that's a thing. I like to believe that it is. If I were a professional athlete and I got the chance to play my old team, yeah, I would find some extra motivation I would want to kick their ass. I want to beat them. I used to be on this team and now I'm not. I lost my opportunity here. I want to prove to you that y'all made a mistake moving on from me. Now, obviously, it made sense for Arizona to move on from Ertz because they had Trey McBride, but Ertz doesn't care about that. I'm following that. I'm following that revenge game. That narrative. I'm going with Ertz. I'm going with Ertz. Like Firemoon's a good player, unreliable for fantasy. Strange caught a touchdown last week, but only on 2 catches. Schultz has been, I think, Schultz has been solid, right? And Schultz could see increased opportunities with Tank Dell out. I don't know. He hasn't been. Actually, Schultz has been downright disappointing. Nah, old man Ertz. Old man Ertz. Unk, as the kids say these days. Uncle Ertz. Hopefully, I'm old enough to ruin like those trends at this point and make Unk uncool. Pick a wide receiver in a flex. Godwin, Jaden Reed, oh man, these are some good options. In full PPR, I think you have to go Godwin, and I think you have to go Connor. I think you have to go. Yeah, I mean, Connor at home against Washington. That's a pretty good matchup. I think Connor bounces back after a rough outing against Detroit last week. And I mean, Chris Godwin is on an absolute tear right now. I think you have to ride that wave. I know Jaden Reed is intriguing because he gets his quarterback back, and Higgins is maybe the best individual player of this group, and it's a good spot for him as well. But Godwin is on fire to start the year. The Eagles are really banged up, mostly on offense. So that could lead to if you think the Bucs handle their business today kind of somewhat easily, the Eagles are without A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and Lane Johnson on offense. It is entirely likely that they struggle. And if they struggle to move the ball and score points, that could mean that the Bucs don't have to do as much on offense. All that to say, I don't think you can go away from Godwin, even in this type of situation that might be a little less than ideal because the opponent is coming in so banged up, which means the Bucs offense might not need to do as much. Godwin's been such a stud, though. I don't think you can take him out of your lineup. I would go Godwin and I would go Connor. Some good options. I don't like leaving Reed and Higgins on my bench. I would advocate to tell your commissioner to expand the rosters or expand your starting lineup. Those are some good players, though. Greg, okay? Sorry, you're dealing with storm stuff. Hopefully, anybody dealing with the hurricane is safe and was able to get through it. And obviously, thoughts to everybody who had to deal with the hurricane this week. It was an intense one. So hopefully, everybody's all good. But yes, Fields definitively, Greg, over Love and Geno for me. He should run. He should run. It's a great matchup. I think George Pickens is in a very beatable matchup today, so that helps Fields as well. I'm playing Fields, and yeah, it's a good point. Without Warren, Fields is like the pseudo RB2 today. They'll mix in Cordero Patterson, but Fields is the pseudo RB2 today in a great matchup. Yeah, I'm playing in one quarterback leagues. I'm playing Justin Fields, unless you have the obvious guys: Lamar Jackson, Jaden Daniels, Josh Allen, Kyler Murray, Joe Burrow, Jalen Hurts. I would play Fields. He's a top 8 option, and even in one quarterback leagues. Yep. Go Fields. Let's see. I got through I got the other questions. I got through the thoughts on the trade question. I got my spot. Start 1, Keenan Allen, Calvin Ridley, Romeo Doubs, Tyler Lockett. You have Josh Jacobs. I don't think that matters much as far as making lineup decisions. Allen is making a return after a 2-game absence. Certainly a beatable matchup against the Rams, but the Bears offense has been putrid thus far. Maybe Allen gives them a boost. Helps them out a little bit as a veteran presence for Caleb. Ridley gets the Dolphins on Monday night. Ridley could go for 2 touchdowns, or he could catch 2 balls for 10 yards. It is a true. Ridley is talented, but the Titans' offense is impossible to trust because Will Levis is a turnover machine. Lockett on the road against Detroit as a boom bust option, and then Romeo Doubs gets his quarterback back. But the Packers wide receivers are difficult to trust week to week. It could be Doubs. It'll probably be Jaden Reed. It could be Christian Watson. It could be Dontavian Wicks. I feel like I haven't heard his name in a couple of weeks, but that's probably because the Packers went run heavy in Love's absence. Yeah, he didn't catch a pass last week. But with Love back, Wicks becomes viable. It's like a who's who at wide receiver for the Packers. They're good. They're all good, but they're all difficult to trust. I think I would lean Allen. I don't feel great about it, admittedly, but I think he is the stable, safe option here. If you need to be aggressive, if you feel like you're an underdog in your matchup or you need to swing for the fences, then I would say Ridley is your play. But just know that his floor is wildly low. Keenan Allen's floor is solid, but his ceiling is probably not great. Ridley's ceiling is good, but his floor is damn near close to zero. So I would say Allen if you want to play it safe, Ridley for the boom bust play if you think you need to play aggressively. So it depends on what you need. Depends on what you need. As far as Goddard versus Kittle, this one is difficult because I think they're both top 3 options today. Goddard is going to command 10 targets. A.J. Brown is out. Devontae Smith is out. The other factor with Dallas Goedert is Lane Johnson is out. So does Goddard stay in to block a little bit more frequently? But then to that point, if he is, then who the hell is Jalen Hurts throwing the ball to? Jahan Dotson? No, thank you. Paris Campbell? Like, no thanks. Not at all. So I guess they have to find a way to they're going to have to, the Eagles find a way to block and protect Jalen Hurts, block for and protect Jalen Hurts without including Dallas Goedert in that because they are so thin at pass catcher. Whereas Kittle is returning from a 1-game absence. And the 49ers have their full complement of weapons, presumably with Debo making his return as well. Both are strong starts. I think I slightly lean Kittle. Goddard should get a ton of opportunities, but I think he's just going to, I don't know. It just feels like he's going to have a tougher time. The Bucs can key on him. The Patriots can try to key on Kittle, but they have Ayuk and probably Debo to contend with as well today. So, the 49ers are at full strength. All things equal in a vacuum, you start Kittle over Goddard week to week anyway. I would keep that same trend. I would probably just go with Kittle. We drafted Kittle to be a top 5 tight end. He's been that when healthy. I know Goddard went nuclear last week. I'm not sure that we can necessarily trust that that'll happen again. And we are starting to get inactives rolling in. So we'll get some definitive roster confirmations rolling in. I think I would lean Kittle over Goddard slightly. I'll take Kittle slightly. Okay. Next up, Rome or Shaheed? Shaheed is your all or nothing play, right? Your boom bust play. Dunze is a little bit more consistent, but he takes a potential hit with Allen coming back. Odunze popped last week, 6 for 112 and a score. It's another good matchup at home against the Rams. But how does he do today with Keenan Allen making his return? I think I slightly lean Shaheed. Both of these players' floors are low. I guess Shaheed's ceiling is a little higher. I'll give the slight nod to Shaheed. Um, at least I know that he's a top 2 receiver for the Saints, whereas Adunze is a top 3 receiver for the Bears. With Keenan Allen back healthy, it's hard to pinpoint how, you know, how much does that cut into Adunze's opportunities. I don't have any questions about Shaheed's opportunities. They're both a little they're high variance, very volatile. I'll give the nod to Shaheed. I'll give the slight nod to Shaheed. Need to start 2 between Pitts, Bowers, and Jaden Reed. I think this is straightforward to me. Bowers is a must start with Devontae Adams out. So Bowers over Pitts. Pitts continues to frustrate. He had 3 targets week 1, 4 targets week 2, 5 targets week 3. So improvement, and he's making plays. He had like a 50-yard catch last week, but that was it. That was all he did. He had 2 catches for 59 yards. They didn't use him again after making a huge play. Like, Pitts' usage is it's still not where we need it to be. Bowers definitively over Pitts, and then I'm not starting 2 tight ends, so Jaden Reed with and he's getting his quarterback back. He's getting love. What's going on, Iron? Good to see you, sir. Thanks for stopping in. I'll go Bowers and I'll go Jaden Reed. Reed gets a boost with Love being healthy. But yeah, Bowers is a must start. He should get 11, 12 targets today with no Devontae Adams. Walker or T. Higgins in full PPR? I would give the slight nod here to T. Higgins. It's a great matchup. He got that, he has a game under his belt now after missing the first 2 weeks of the season. The Bengals offense looked like they started to click and find their groove last week, even though they lost the game. The Bengals offense looked fine. They looked better. They're going to play as desperate can be today, because if they fall to 0-4, their season is over, especially losing to Carolina. If the Bengals lose to Carolina today and fall to 0-4, they are put the nail in the coffin. Their season is over. I think they come out today aggressive, and they show out on offense. I'll say Higgins. Walker's he's in a brutal matchup. He's in a brutal matchup against the Lions. Yeah, give me Higgins. Give me Higgins in full PPR. Let's see. I see Iron's got a question. So again, as always, just as a friendly reminder, I see all your questions. Matiz, Jay, you see me like. I see all your questions. Sit tight. Appreciate your patience. I got to get to my members first. That is a perk of being a member of the channel. If you're interested in becoming a member of the channel, if you like what you see in here and you're enjoying the dialogue, the conversation, and just the general content from the channel, there are more details about becoming a member in the first link in the description of this live stream and all of the videos and streams on this channel. And if you have any questions, you are always free to reach out to me. But I got to get to my members first. Start 1 wide receiver and 2 flex. Walker, Najee, Jamo, Ridley, Shakir. Najee for sure is one of your flex spots. Najee for sure is one of your flex spots. No Jaylen Warren. Beautiful matchup against the Indianapolis Colts. And then Walker's in a tough spot. Jamo is all or nothing. Shakir is solid, but tougher spot on the road against Baltimore on Sunday Night Football. I would play Najee definitively, Iron. I think I would play, of this group, I would play Walker and hope for the best, even though it's not a good matchup. But at least he should get enough work to come through with a floor play. I would think. I don't know if we can expect a ceiling game from Kenneth Walker today, but I think we can expect a floor game. or tomorrow night, Monday night. Give me Najee, give me Walker. From there, I would say Iron JMO is your ceiling play and Shakir is your safety net, depending on what you need. If you think you need to be aggressive and swing for the fences, I would say Jamison Williams. He should be able to bounce back at home. Shakir is a little bit more of like a PPR floor play, and he looks really good. He looks really good. I got to change those emoji logos, by the way. I did a little bit of rebranding over the course of this past week, in case anybody didn't notice. Not that it's a huge deal, but I got to get those. I got to get those member emojis updated. You're leaning Shakir. Shakir is a solid safety net if you think you can comfortably like play it safe and get whatever you can get out of him from a PPR perspective. Shakir is perfectly fine. JMO is a little bit more boom bust. But, you know, Shakir has 11 catches the past 2 weeks, 72 yards last week, 54 yards the week before. He's got a touchdown in 2 of 3 games. Like, Shakir is playing well. JMO is playing well as well, but he dudded last week. He popped the first 2 weeks. Well, he popped week 1, and he had a really good game week 2. He dudded out week 3. Shakir hasn't had a dud yet. So JMO's ceiling is higher, Iron. JMO's ceiling is higher, but Shakir's floor is higher. And then I would start the 2 running backs. Najee for sure, and then I would go Walker even in a bad matchup and hope he can come through with a little bit of volume. Both Bucs running backs were just taken off of the injury report. They are both healthy and ready to go. I don't feel particularly strong about either one of them. If you can pivot off of the Bucs running backs, I would, but it's possible that you don't have a better alternative to turn to. That's for anybody, just not just not answering a question specifically, just for anybody who may have one or both Bucs running backs. And yeah, we'll get AJ Brown week 6, Iron, and Puka hopefully, I don't know, by week 8 or 9 or so. I don't have a ton of confidence, admittedly, in Nick Chubb's return. That was a gruesome knee injury that he suffered last year. Has he been given any type of timeline? Have we received any updates on Nick Chubb? Oh, he's expected to return to practice this week. But, like, that's a whole ramp-up situation. I'm just not super comfortable with Nick Chubb. Return to play doesn't mean return to performance when you suffer an injury like the one he suffered. But we shall see. All right. Iron, I think you're good. Let me know if you need anything else. Appreciate you popping in. Best of luck. Walker, Najee, and then I think you're going Shakir. Best of luck. I am back up to where I left off my spot in line, but I got it. Should you start Darnold over Richardson? I don't think I'm ready to go that far. I know Richardson, he sputtered out last week. He bottomed out last week. Didn't throw a touchdown. Only like 150, 160 passing yards. I think he had 2 turnovers. He didn't really run the ball well. And it's a brutal matchup today. It's a brutal matchup today. I don't think I can go Darnold. I don't think I can go Darnold over Anthony Richardson. Darnold is playing great. He is. He's playing really well right now. This is a potentially tough spot for him on the road against a division opponent. The Packers are beatable through the air. They are. They're beatable through the air. Uh, and Darnold has been performing well. I think I have to go back to Richardson for one more week. I'll be honest, I don't have a ton of confidence in that because I know how bad Richardson has been the past 2 weeks. But if he hits, he's a league-winning option at quarterback. And I know it's a bad matchup, but at least they're at home. You figure he'll run the ball a little bit better. Like, he can do better than 8 carries for 24 yards. Darnold is a strong stream today. Richardson, I think, is still a guy who is a regular starter for at least a couple more weeks. And we got to pick the guys who are, I think, decent start. Like, they're decent starts over decent streams. I got to play Richardson. I know we're talking about Richardson at his floor versus Darnold at his ceiling. So I'm going to be more inclined to pick the guy that you banked on to be your top flight option at quarterback to bounce back. I know the vibes are bad on Anthony Richardson right now, but I would go back to the well with him one more time. I would rock with Richardson for one more week. Darnold's in a good spot. Make no mistake. He's a solid streaming option, but I would not. I think I'm going Richardson one more week. Even in a tough matchup. Let's see how he does. Let's see if they can, get some design runs going. I'll say Richardson. Slightly. But I'll take a guy I intended to be my starter over a guy who is a solid stream. Looks like Deontay Johnson's status was just changed to healthy, so get Deontay Johnson into your lineup. I think he's a strong wide receiver too, at home against Cincinnati with Andy Dalton throwing him the ball. Love or Caleb Williams? Jordan Love, even coming off the injury, we need to see more from Caleb. That's all it comes down to. We need to see more from Caleb. He hasn't done enough. This Bears offense is unimpressive. He gets Keenan Allen back, which should help, but Love is, we drafted Love as probably a top 10 quarterback. He's a top 8 option when healthy. Williams is not there right now. It's not a great matchup, but they are at home. And I think, right now, Love is the better player. I'll take Love. It's a better matchup for Williams, but the Bears need to prove that they can have some type of consistency and continuity on offense. They have none of that right now. They just don't look good. The only guy I feel okay about starting in the Bears offense right now is DJ Moore, and even that's volatile. So I'll say Love. Better stashes. You have to drop one of these guys. Ty Chandler, Kendre Miller, Trey Tucker, Josh Downs. I like Downs as a stash. I like Chandler as a stash. Has there been any recent updates on Kendre Miller? Oh, he's hoping to practice this week. That's a good development. Kendre Miller hasn't really done much of anything so far. Like last year, he was a healthy scratch a lot. It seems like the coaching staff doesn't seem to like him, which is weird. Dennis Allen just doesn't seem to like Kendre Miller. Just go back to all of his offseason comments about Kendre Miller. That being said, he is, running back depth is running back depth no matter how you slice it. And Kamara is banged up. That might not mean anything for the long haul, but it could. So I guess I would hang on to Kendre Miller. The odd man out here for me is Trey Tucker because it's not a good offense. He's an ancillary piece. Even with Devontae Adams out, he's going to be behind Brock Bowers. He's going to be behind Jacoby Myers. He's at best the third in the pecking order most weeks when Adams is out. Tucker is the drop for me here. Downs, Chandler, and Kendre Miller are the holds of these four names. I would drop Trey Tucker. And that's even with Adams' diagnosis earlier being listed as week to week, which means that Adams could miss week 5 as well, and possibly beyond. So that does keep Tucker interesting. But I'm not, I don't want to necessarily chase the third wide receiver option in a Gardner Minshew led offense. No offense to Gardner Minshew, but I'll pass on Trey Tucker. I'll take the running back depth, and I'll take Downs, who made his return last week and should continue to ramp up into a more regular role in this Colts offense. He had a good year last year. I think he's a good player, and they need him. They're going to need him. Two quarterback league. You're hurting at quarterback. Oof. Lawrence, Cousins, Herbert, and then you have Levis and Huntley available on the free agent list. Yeah, that is a that is a tough spot. I don't trust Will Levis. I don't trust Will Levis, and I don't trust Tyler Huntley either. These are definitely lower end options, admittedly. Cousins against New Orleans is tough to trust. Lawrence against anybody right now is tough to trust. And Herbert is maybe is operating at less than 100% in a bad matchup against the Chiefs. I think I would go Lawrence and Cousins. Lawrence should have to throw against Houston. Hopefully he can get like a cheap score or two. Lawrence could also run a little bit. Lawrence does run. Of these names, I'm not including Levis and Huntley. I think they're, even in Superflex leagues, I think they're so far off the radar. Huntley is making his first start with the Dolphins after being there for like a week, and Levis is the new Jameis Winston. He's just a freaking turnover machine. Without the pedigree. I feel like that's disrespectful to Winston. He was a first overall pick. Levis was a second round pick. I'm not in on Levis, and I'm not in on Huntley. I would play Lawrence. He's probably looking at negative game script against Houston, so he's going to have to throw. And Lawrence, of all of these guys, is the greatest threat to run, give you a little bit of production on the ground. And I guess I'll go Cousins. He has London, he has Pitts, he has Mooney. He can throw the ball to Bijan or even Tyler Algier. His supporting cast, his collection of weapons is better than Justin Herbert's. And Herbert's out of the walking boot, which is great, but like we're dealing with a high ankle sprain here. That's not good. And he's down Joe Alt. I don't think Joe Alt is playing today. Their first, their fifth overall first round pick, stud tackle is out, so that hurts their offensive line, which hurts the offense in general. Lawrence and Cousins, I think, are your options here. That's where you go. I got Greg's other questions and Iron's questions. Shout out to my members. Appreciate you guys coming in and hanging out. Hopefully everybody gets a dub today. Is Akers worth a start? I mean, yes, but if Debo, the problem is Akers plays here coming up in the 1 o'clock window. Debo doesn't play until 4 o'clock. Yes, I want to wait until Debo plays, but who would you have available to you if Debo is ultimately ruled out? The vibe and expectation seems to be that Debo is going to play today, which is great. I think you can operate with a side of optimism when it comes to Debo Samuel. Whether he's limited, Debo's that type of player where you kind of got to just roll those dice. You gotta risk it for the biscuit. Even if Debo is limited, he's too good. If he's active, he has to be started. I think Akers is in a great spot today. My question would be, if you skip Akers to wait for Debo and Debo is ruled out, who do you have to pivot to in the late window or Sunday or Monday night as a long shot alternative? I want to wait on Debo. My personal advice would be Akers is a good start today, but I want to wait on Debo, and I am willing to risk a third or fourth option to pivot to in the event that Debo is ruled out, which is now looking it's looking good that he's going to play by all accounts. Yep. I would bank on Debo and pivot to whoever a potential alternative is for you in the later window if he can't go. Debo is one of those guys, though, that is worth waiting on. Pick 2 between Debo, Worthy, and Jennings. So all these guys play in the late window, so you have the advantage of waiting until the 4 o'clock window to get definitive confirmation on Debo. If Debo is playing, you play Debo. So and if he's out, you have Jennings. So that's that's the exact pivot that you would want. So the first answer to the question is you just play the 49ers wide receiver that starts. And then I would also play Worthy, who is a moonshot. He is a dart throw at this point. He's a little all or nothing. But I don't want to play Jennings if Debo is healthy, because Kittle is back as well. If Kittle was still out but Debo was in, I would maybe say Debo and Jennings. But because Kittle is in, if Debo is also in, then I'm moving away from Jawan Jennings. I'll say Debo if he plays. Worthy, I would just go with. And then Jennings is your pivot if Debo is ruled out. That's the plan. That's the plan. And I appreciate interesting factoids. You're asking about how to become a member. Details are, if you scroll down to the description of this live stream, first link in the description is details on how to become a member. If you're interested, those details are there. All you have to do is join at the lowest level membership. It's 99 cents a month, and you get the priority. You get the perks that come with it, in addition to priority responses to your questions or comments. If you're interested, the details are in the first link in the description of this stream. So you just have to scroll on down, and those details are there. But if you are interested, I appreciate it. I always appreciate the support. If folks feel strongly enough to support the channel, it means a lot. Yeah, let me know if I can help in any other way. Appreciate it. Two lineup questions here. Montgomery or Pollard? Hands down, Montgomery. Montgomery is in your lineup. He is locked and loaded as a high-end RB2 with low-end RB1 upside. With how frequently he scores touchdowns, the Lions love to give him the ball in the red zone and on the goal line. And he's just a damn good player. David Montgomery is just a good player. He comes through even with splitting work with Jahmyr Gibbs, who is excellent. Montgomery is one of those rare cases where you start a team's RB2 over other teams' RB1s. That doesn't happen a lot. Montgomery is that type of dude, though. Montgomery definitively over Pollard. And then London, I guess, whatever running back. So London, Pollard, Jaden Reed, or Shakir at the flex. Reed. I like London today. He's on a bit of a heater. He's caught touchdowns back-to-back weeks, but it is a tough matchup against Marshawn Lattimore today. He is playing, right? I always have to ask that question. Marshawn Lattimore has injury issues. He's excellent, but he has injury issues as well. I don't see anything that he's not. It looks like he's going to play. So that's a tough spot for Drake London. I'll give the slight nod. To Jaden Reed, but it's close. It's admittedly close. Reed gets love back, so that's a huge boost for him. Both guys are at home. You drafted London higher than you drafted Reed, so you're anticipating banking on Drake London week to week. But I think in this spot, Reed is a little bit safer. I think in this spot, Reed is a little bit safer. So I'll say Montgomery as your running back and Reed as your flex. Yep. Montgomery and Reed. It's close between Reed and London for me, admittedly. But I'll say Reed because he doesn't have to face Marshawn Lattimore. And I see Greg has another question. Again, for anybody just joining or jumping in, appreciate y'all's patience. A perk of being a member of the channel is I have to get to my members first. That is a perk of being a member. And I see that I just got a new one. Hi, Nemo. There he is. What's going on, Nemo? Good to see you. Thanks for popping in. Thanks for rejoining. Thanks for joining on. Appreciate it. Good to see you. If you have any questions, let me know. Happy to take them. Appreciate your support of the channel. That's very kind of you. Hopefully all is well. Yeah, thank you for the support. Let me know if I can help with anything today. You have been here since you have been one of my day ones, and I appreciate it, Nemo. I know that I have some people who have been here since the beginning. That's why I do it. This is why I do it. I'm just like full disclosure. I'm not gonna always, and this is for everybody. My advice is not always going to work out. And I'm sure you guys understand that because nobody's advice always hits 100% of the time. People are, any content creator is kidding themselves if they tout like 100% accuracy or even anything close to it. But I try to give you my authentic thoughts as it pertains to your questions and your situation and break it down for you as best I can. Hopefully it pays off. If it doesn't, I hope that you at least trust the process that I go through, and we go back to the well with that same process next, week to week. But appreciate it, Nemo. Thanks for popping on. Thanks for joining on as a member. Very kind of you. Appreciate the support. Let me get to Greg's question first, and then and then I'll take care of Nemo, and then I have my spot in line. I have not. I see everybody else's questions. I will get to them. Appreciate everybody's patience. Yeah, Bucky's healthy. I would yes, Akers over Bucky. Akers is the starter. Irving is the change of pace guy. Like, is today the day that Bucky usurps Rachaad White? Maybe, but Rachaad White is healthy as well. I want to avoid that backfield if I can. I don't want to deal with that backfield right now. Rachaad White is probably the better pass catcher. Irving is the better pure runner. The Eagles can be had on the ground, but they had a dominant performance on defense last week. Does that roll over to this week? And Alvin Kamara is obviously in a much higher tier than Rachaad White or Bucky Irving is right now. So, like, the fact that they were able to keep him in check, I want to avoid the Bucs backs today if I can. Akers, definitively, Greg. He's got the job to himself, and it's a great matchup against those Jacksonville Jaguars that look like they're on the verge of quitting if last Monday was any indication. So, yes, Akers, definitively. Akers, definitively. And Nemo, appreciate you again joining on as a member. This is a defensive question. The Vikings or the Chiefs? The Vikings are in a tough spot on the road against the Packers with Jordan Love returning. The Chiefs get Justin Herbert, a hobbled Justin Herbert, but who is oftentimes not a great matchup for fantasy. I'll say the Vikings, even though they're on the road, they do look like an elite unit. They look like they're a top 5 defense this year. That doesn't deter me from firing up like Jordan Love and Josh Jacobs and Jaden Reed at home. But the Vikings are they're a strong unit. How many sacks do they have so far? It's a good amount. They made mincemeat of CJ Stroud. They have 5 sacks or more in every game. The Vikings are done. Now, one game was against the Giants. But one game was against the San Francisco 49ers. They sacked Purdy 6 times, and they forced a fumble and an interception. Yeah, the Vikings, Nemo, it's not a great spot on the road. It's not a great spot on the road, but the Vikings are a lockdown unit right now. Jordan Love makes it a little bit less of an enticing play, but they are coming through. They've come through every week, the Vikings have. They have 5 sacks or more in every game. I think you need to ride that with Love. Admittedly, first game back after a 2-week absence. This is like, if there was a week to get Jordan Love, it's the first game back from an injury. So, yeah, I'll take the Vikings over the Chiefs, Nemo. I'll take the Vikings over the Chiefs. And then we're starting 2 guys between Shaheed Pickens and Terry McLaurin. I'll take the latter 2. Pickens definitively in a great matchup against the Colts. They're getting, dude, the Colts are getting cooked on defense. They are worst in the NFL against the run, and they are bottom half of the league against the pass. They're not doing much of anything well on offense or on defense right now. And Pickens is a big time enough player to make things happen in any matchup, and this is a good one. This is a good matchup for Pickens. So I'm playing Pickens, and I'll take Terry McLaurin. Let's ride the wave after a great performance on Monday night. Nothing scary about the matchup against Arizona. A good potential for a shootout today between the Cardinals and the Commanders. Lots of offense, maybe not so much defense. I'll take Terry McLaurin. Plus, those 2 are their team's wide receiver 1s. Shaheed is the team's wide receiver 2 with Chris Olave officially healthy and in for this game for the Saints. I like Shaheed, but he's more boom bust. I think we can expect some consistency from Pickens and Terry. That's where I'm going. Give me Pickens, give me Terry McLaurin. So hopefully that helps. Best of luck, Nemo. Thank you again for joining as a member. Appreciate the support. Let's see. Where am I? I got my members. Members are all taken care of for now. Let me move back up to my spot in line. You need 2 backs, 2 receivers, and a flex. Well, you're starting Bijan. You're starting Cook. And you're starting Jordan Mason. So those are your 2 backs and your flex. Bijan, Cook, Mason are your 2 backs and flex. Then you need 2 receivers between Garrett Wilson, Deontay, McLaurin, Flowers, Jamo, Reed, and Christian Watson. Deontay is a starting wide receiver. I think he's a strong wide receiver 2 this week at home against Cincinnati with Andy Dalton throwing him the ball. And then I think you just have to kind of go with Garrett Wilson and hope for the best. He is not off to the start that we would like to see from a guy like Garrett Wilson, but I think you have to rock with him. It's not a good matchup. Patrick Surtain is shutting down opposing wide receivers. But Wilson is one of those guys that you kind of just have to bank on each week. You kind of have to just hope for the best with a Garrett Wilson. He's too talented to leave on the bench. Jaden Reed does pose an interesting start option with Jordan Love back. Excuse me. I think I would go Wilson. I don't think even though he's off to a bad start or off to a slow start, and it's a bad matchup against Surtain, he is at home. The Jets maybe got things working a little bit on offense last week on Thursday night, so they've had a little extra time to prepare for this game as well. They've had 10 days off, so that helps as well. I think I got to go with Garrett Wilson, even though it's a bad matchup, and hope for the best. Reed is in a better matchup, and he gets his quarterback back, so I understand not having total confidence in Garrett Wilson, but I think that's where I have to go. I think I got to go Wilson over Reed. And then Deontay definitively. Deontay definitively. Yeah. Bijan, Cook, Mason. I would advocate for Wilson. And then Deontay Johnson as one of your slam dunk wide receivers. But best of luck. I see Nemo's got a few more questions. Again, I do have to get to my members first. That is a perk of being a member of the channel. You will get your questions or comments responded to in priority order, and then I will get to everybody else. Appreciate y'all's patience. Is this just who wins the game between the Rams and the Bears? I don't trust the Bears right now, and the Rams got a huge win against the 49ers. Both teams were shorthanded, but the fact that the Rams beat the 49ers I think that was huge for LA's, prospects this season, just in general. Even on the road, I think I would lean the Rams. The Bears are a mess on offense right now. They are a mess. And DeAndre Swift, I'm not dropping him yet, but it's definitely close. It's definitely close. If DeAndre Swift bottoms out again today, which he shouldn't, this is the matchup. The Rams can be beaten on the ground. If you can't deliver as a running back against the LA Rams, then yeah, you're probably cheeks. And DeAndre Swift is trending in that direction. To be fair, the offensive line is also not good, but Swift is averaging like under 2 yards per carry so far. Not good at all. If Swift bottoms out today, yes, he will be drop worthy for whoever the top waiver wire options are this week. Speaking of, if anybody needs waiver wire help, that is on Tuesdays, 6 p.m. Eastern. Be sure to tune in. I'll talk shop on top waivers. And if you have questions in general about who to pick up or maybe trades or anything like that, you can bring those questions to the table as well. But yeah, Swift needs to have a good game today to remain on rosters, even in shallow leagues. Swift is firmly in drop territory if he bottoms out today. And then Dobbins, Ford, Moss, B-Rob start two. Brian Robinson is a must start today against Arizona and without Austin Eckler. Brian Robinson is a must start. My second start is between Dobbins and Moss. I think they are both solid options. I would slightly lean Moss over Dobbins. Moss is playing Carolina. They are still getting gashed on the ground. They had a better showing against Vegas last week, but the Cincinnati Bengals offense poses a much greater challenge than the Vegas offense does. So I'll say Moss. Kansas City is a little better at stopping the run. And I just still have some trepidation with the Chargers in general, with Justin Herbert dealing with a high ankle sprain. Ford should be fine, but I like Moss a little bit more. He is the guy in that backfield right now over Chase Brown. Give me Brian Robinson, Nemo, definitively. And then I will take Moss slightly over Dobbins. Ford is fourth for me here. Okay, we are 30 minutes to kickoff. So I got to make sure I get through these other questions. So let me make sure I keep moving through it. If you feel like I gave a fast answer to your question and it wasn't enough context, I apologize. Let me know if you need like more thoughts. But I have to make sure I get to everybody before the 1 p.m. kickoffs. My thoughts on McCaffrey returning, I genuinely don't know. Mason should still be useful, at least for the first couple weeks that McCaffrey returns. But I just don't know what McCaffrey's timeline is yet. I know that we got an optimistic outlook earlier this morning, that the 49ers are going to begin ramping him up and that he could return in early November. So Mason is still the guy for the next month at least. And I would think for at least the first couple weeks of McCaffrey's return, they ease him in and Mason maintains a role. I just don't know how much I trust. What is McCaffrey's situation? He was dealing with Achilles tendonitis. He's been out through the first 4 weeks. He's going to miss at least another 4 weeks. They're not going to play him before the week 9 bye. I guess he could return week 10, but what does that look like? I know it's Christian McCaffrey, and when healthy, he's one of the best players in the NFL, but this is a 28-year-old running back dealing with an Achilles tendonitis issue. Like, I'm not. I don't know what that looks like. I would still feel perfectly fine if I had Jordan Mason, and I wouldn't be looking to sell high. I would be fine with having him as running back depth. Yeah, maybe that hurts in week 13, 14, 15 if McCaffrey is like back to 100%. But as of today, as of right now, I'm willing to roll those dice. I want to rock with Jordan Mason because he's healthy. He's healthy, and he has proven good enough to earn and maintain a role, even if McCaffrey is able to get back 100%. This has got to be a situation where, in a best-case scenario, the 49ers will ramp up McCaffrey, but they want to have him for the playoffs. They want to have him for the postseason. So they're going to make sure that they monitor him and keep him healthy for that stretch run when it comes. So, yeah, I'm sticking with Mason. I'm sticking with Mason. I'm happy I am happy that the channel makes you happy. Interesting factoids. I appreciate that. Hopefully others feel the same way, but obviously I got to get some calls correct for you to feel that way. But I appreciate that. That's very kind of you. Fields or Richardson? I'm going Fields. Richardson is a guy that I'm starting over the streamers. Sam Darnold, who are the other options? Like Caleb, Deshaun Watson, Trevor Lawrence, maybe even like a Baker Mayfield. I'll start Anthony Richardson over those guys, but Fields is a really good start today. Great matchup. He should operate as like a pseudo RB2 with Jaylen Warren out. The Colts are a good matchup on the ground. I think Fields comes through here with a low-end QB1 performance. Richardson, I think, can come through with a low-end low-end QB1 performance as well. It is a tougher matchup for him against the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'll take Fields. And I'm going Daniels over Hurts. Hurts is not scoring rushing touchdowns. He doesn't have one through 3 weeks so far, and he's down his top 2 wideouts. He's down A.J. Brown. He's down Devontae Smith. Daniels is playing great. Daniels is playing out of his mind. Give me Jaden Daniels. Let's ride that wave. Yeah, Fields over Richardson, Daniels over Hurts. Daniels is playing out of his mind, and there's nothing scary about that matchup against Arizona. Give me Daniels over Hurts, who's down his top 2 wideouts. Rachaad White, Bucky Irving, DeAndre Swift. If you can only play one of these dudes in full PPR, I'll take Rachaad White. I do not have a ton of confidence in Rachaad White. It feels like his, grasp on being the 1A in this backfield is slipping because Bucky Irving is the better runner. But since it's full PPR, the Eagles have given up 12 receptions to running backs this year. I do think Rachaad White should be able to come away with 3, 4, maybe even 5 catches today. I'll take White. I know it's been awful on the ground, but he can come through the air. I'll take Rachaad White. For one more week, I will take Rachaad White. If Bucky Irving outperforms him again, it's going to be a different conversation going into week 5. But for one more week, I will take Rachaad White. I do not trust DeAndre Swift. That's just it. I don't trust DeAndre Swift. I don't trust the Bears' offense right now, and DeAndre Swift in particular does not look good. The more explosive player between Odunze and Shaheed right now is Shaheed. Odunze could have been the answer to this question if Keenan Allen was still out, but Keenan Allen is back. So I don't know how much that cuts into Odunze's opportunities. It's a good matchup by the numbers for Odunze, but is he 3rd on the pecking order now today? Is he 4th behind Cole Kmet? Probably not, but, does Keenan Allen take 6, 7 targets for himself? Even 5, 6 targets for himself? That cuts into Odunze's opportunities. Shaheed, we know, is a starter for the New Orleans Saints, like a top 2 wide receiver for the New Orleans Saints. Shaheed is more explosive. They're both highly volatile today, but I'll bank on the guy who I think is more of a mainstay in his offense, and that is Shaheed right now. What's up, Max? Good to see you. Kmet or Freiermuth? I guess, is Zach Ertz not available? I assume he's not. I will say, I don't really want to play Pat Freiermuth, but I'm leery about chasing the Cole Kmet production from last week because it was a bit of an outlier, and now Keenan Allen is back. Kmet popped last week. 10 catches, 97 yards against the Colts. Freiermuth is going up against those same Indianapolis Colts that Cole Kmet popped off against. Cole Kmet's other two performances this year was 1 catch for 4 yards week 1 and 4 catches for 27 yards week 2. That stinks. Kmet popped against the Colts. Freiermuth is going against those same Colts today. I would go with Freiermuth. Chase the matchup, not the performance. So I'll take Freiermuth. We're picking 3 here between Waddle, T. Higgins, Jawan Jennings, and Braylon Allen. Happy that you started Jennings last week. That paid off. I'm happy that I recommended him to somebody because I'm not sure if I recommended Jennings to everybody. Oops. Waddle, T. Higgins, Jawan Jennings. Well, T. Higgins for sure. Waddle is so difficult to trust. He's so difficult to trust with this quarterback situation. If Debo is active, I think I would play Waddle over Jennings and hope for the best because not only would Debo be back, but so would George Kittle. George Kittle is back healthy. So if the 49ers have Kittle, Debo, and Ayuk, Jawan Jennings goes back to being the 4th option. At least Waddle is a top 2 receiver for his team. And maybe Tyler Huntley is better than Skylar Thompson. Actually, he probably should be. I will say T. Higgins. I will roll the dice on Braylon Allen in this specific situation. I will play Jennings if Debo is out. I will play Waddle if Debo is active. And it's trending toward Debo playing. So I guess I'm advocating for Waddle over Jennings. I don't feel super strong about it, but maybe Waddle bounces back and can pick up 5 catches for 50 yards from Tyler Huntley. That's all we're hoping for from Jalen Waddle at this point is like 5 for 50. Yeah. Higgins, Allen, Jennings if Debo is out, Waddle if Debo is in. It looks like Debo's going to play. Likely Conklin or Ertz. I'm going old man Ertz. Old man Ertz is my tight end suggestion until further notice. If you don't have Brock Bowers, you don't have Dalton Kincaid, you don't have George Kittle, you don't have even guys like Sam Laporta and Travis Kelce, you still have to give them respect. Ertz. I'm picking Ertz over anybody else. He's been a low-end tight end 1 for the past couple weeks. It's a revenge game against Arizona. Give me Ertz. I know Conklin played well last week. Let's see if he can make it 2 weeks in a row. Ertz has done it 2 weeks in a row. Conklin was better than Ertz last week, but I'll take Ertz in a revenge game against Arizona. And he's, Jane Daniels looks great. Likely, I don't trust right now. I don't trust Isaiah Likely at this particular moment in time. And then Vikings, Falcons, Cardinals, Bengals, Rams. I would go with the Vikings simply because of these units, they are the best. It's not a great matchup, but if you're gonna chase, if you're gonna get one against Jordan Love, you might as well take a shot against him in his first game back from injury. And the Vikings are just a good team. They got a good defense. They got 5 sacks or more in every game so far. The Vikings. Yep. Ertz as your tight end, Minnesota as your defense. Let's see. I got Greg's recent questions. I got Nemo's questions. Thank you again, Nemo, for joining on as a member. Appreciate the support. If you need anything else, just let me know. How will Josh Jacobs do this week? I mean, he's an RB2. I can't predict how many points he's going to have. This is not a good matchup. The Vikings are shutting down the run game, opposing run games. But at home with Love back, I think you have to fire up Jacobs as an RB2, and you hope for 12 points. You hope for 10 to 12 points. It's not a great spot, but Jacobs is probably a guy that you can't take out of your lineup. Najee or Akers? Najee. Najee. He's the regular starter, and Jalen Warren is out. Akers is a good spot start, but Najee is higher up the rankings this week. Najee without Jalen Warren in a great matchup against the Colts, and then Kmet or Dalton Schultz. If Zach Ertz isn't available, I'll say Schultz, actually, which might look like a strange call on paper because Schultz hasn't done anything this year and Kmet is coming off a good week. But the Bears are getting Keenan Allen back and the Texans are without Tank Dell. So Schultz is in a prime opportunity for a larger role, whereas Kmet could take a bit of a back seat with Allen back in the mix. So Najee over Akers, and I'll say Schultz over Kmet. Schultz should see potentially a few more looks with Tank Dell out of the lineup. This is a trade question, so I'm not going to spend too much time here because we could also sort this out on on Tuesday or later in the week next week. You traded Mooney and Ertz for Mike Evans. That's good. I don't know who your starting tight end is, but getting Mike Evans for Mooney and Ertz that's a big win. That's a huge win. I would stay put for now. You can fire up Olave, you can fire up Mike Evans, and you can fire up Higgins. If you start two receivers, you can fire up Olave and Evans. If you start three, you can fire up Olave, Evans, and T. Higgins. And then you have all the Bears receivers. So that might be a frustrating situation to deal with week to week, trying to figure. I read Worthy. Why did I read Worthy as no? You have Allen and Dunze, two of the three Bears receivers. Worthy is a dart throw, but he's decent depth. No, that's fine. You won with that trade to get Evans for Mooney and Ertz. That's a win. I know Evans has been kind of quiet, but it's still Mike freaking Evans. That's a win. I think you made the trade that you needed to make. I think you're good. I don't know who your starting tight end is, but I think you're fine. You're good now. Olave, Evans, Higgins, you're good now. I think you're fine. I don't think you need to do anything drastic or immediate. I think you're in good shape now. That's a good move. That's a great move. Yeah, nicely done. Nicely done. You should feel good about that. Feel good about that acquisition. Rest of season: Zamir White, Javonte Williams, Roschon Johnson, Emmanuel Wilson. Shit, none of the above, man. Roschon, I guess, is number one. I guess Zamir White is number two. I guess he's still the starter, even though I lost all hope and faith in Zamir White last week when he bottomed out in a great matchup. I'll say Emmanuel Wilson is third, and I'll say Javonte is fourth. Javonte looks like he might be done. I don't know if he looks like he's lost his explosiveness, and that offense just stinks. The offense stinks. I'll say Roschon 1 for the upside. I don't even know if it's going to come to fruition, but these names are kind of blah. Roschon has a chance to ascend to an RB1 role. That's how bad DeAndre Swift has been. I'll say Zamir White second because he's the starter. Emmanuel Wilson is an intriguing handcuff, so he'll be third, and I'll say Javonte is fourth. His situation stinks, and he just doesn't look good. He just doesn't look good. All right, we're coming up on the end. I appreciate everybody's patience as I work through this with about 15 minutes to go before kickoff. I got to double check my own lineups and make sure that everything's all set. I think I'm all good, but you never know. Got to do those last minute checks, especially when you're in like 6 different leagues like I am. I don't have a problem. Full PPR, Carson Steele or Ladd McConkey. You could pick up Quentin Johnson or Trey Tucker. I don't think I would do that. In full PPR, like McConkey is intriguing, but I have a little bit of trepidation. Just, for better or worse, I'm a little leery of the Chargers right now. I know that Justin Herbert is expected to play, but like that high ankle sprain makes me real nervous. I think I would bank on the volume that I would expect Carson Steele to get. He was decent on Sunday night. McConkey has been okay. 3 catches for 44 yards last week. That's, it's pedestrian. It's not great. I would roll the dice on Steele. I have pause. I have questions about the Chargers offense with Justin Herbert operating at less than 100%. And I would keep Demarcus Robinson for now. Um, I would play Carson Steele. I wouldn't pick up those other wide receivers. I would just play Steele and hope for the best. He should be able to provide a decent floor as the primary runner for the Chiefs. I'll say Steele. He may not catch a ton of passes, but he can come through with 75 yards on the ground, and he has a non-zero chance. He has a decent chance of scoring. It's not the Chargers are pretty good against the run, but Patrick Mahomes is like that. That the Chiefs' offense is one of those offenses where you feel confident that they can neutralize bad matchups because of Patrick Mahomes. I'll say Steele slightly over McConkey. You need one between Hill, London, and Brandon Ayuk. I can't believe this is where we're at with Tyreek Hill. I guess I would start London. Even in a bad matchup. But London is the one who's on a heater right now. London has some positive momentum. He's caught a touchdown back-to-back weeks. He's at home. It's against Marshawn Lattimore, which is not a great matchup, but he should be okay at home. He should be able to do all right. And he's on a bit of a heater. Ayuk is still, I think, shaking off the rust, shaking off the cobwebs from his offseason absence. And he's not going to get funneled targets if Debo and Kittle are both back healthy, which they are. So that's going to take some opportunities away. I guess it opens things up for him, but you can't expect massive volume for Ayuk with everybody back in the mix. And Ayuk hasn't exactly gone off yet. I'll say London. Tyreek Hill, I can't believe this is where we're at, but it's impossible to have any type of confidence in the Dolphins offense right now. So, yeah, I will say London, which I have. It does mean no, I do not take any, I don't feel good about not suggesting one of the best players in the NFL in Tyreek Hill, but it's been rough sledding without Tua. We got a pick 3 here, and then I think I'm at the end of the chat. If I didn't miss anybody, let me know if I did really quick. But we got 10 minutes to go before kickoff. Ramondre Stevenson, Kenneth Walker, J.K. Dobbins, Cam Akers. I like the spot that Akers is in today. Is it? You said it's, or I don't know what the scoring is. I guess it doesn't matter because they're all running backs. If it's full PPR, Ramondre gets a boost, but if it's half PPR, then maybe not as much. I like Akers in a spot start today. I do think of these options. I'm okay with Dobbins at home against the Chiefs. He should get some decent volume. Walker is in a tough spot against the Lions on the road. He is the one that I would have the most trepidation with because the Lions are a shutdown unit against the run right now. San Francisco is good against the run, but Detroit is better against the run. San Francisco is Ramondre's opponent. Detroit is Kenneth Walker's opponent. I will say Dobbins. I will say Akers. If it is half or full PPR, I'll say Ramondre. Honestly, even if it's standard, I might just say Ramondre. I like Kenneth Walker, but this is a tough matchup for him on the road against Detroit in his first game back after missing a couple of weeks. There's an argument to be made for Kenneth Walker in standard scoring, but if it's half or full PPR, I think I would go Ramondre. Neither are in great spots. Neither are in great matchups. But if you get half or full PPR Ramondre, you could go Walker and if it's standard scoring, but it's a tough spot for both of those two guys. Just understand that. Dobbins and Akers, I think, are dudes you have to fire up. They're better matchups. They're both at home. I feel better about those two. All right. Just 10 minutes to go before kickoff. You could, do you hold Christian McCaffrey? I think look, I don't feel great about Christian McCaffrey's prospects for this season as it pertains to fantasy. But if you have him, we got the most optimistic update that we could, that we've had in weeks when they said earlier this morning that the 49ers plan was to start ramping Christian McCaffrey up. If you have him, you might as well hold him. If you have him, you might as well hold him. You're not going to get great value for him, even with the positive update. I'm still not 100% sure how confident I am in Christian McCaffrey for this season, but if we are, and it's hard to believe whatever the 49ers put out there these days, because on one hand, we were told Christian McCaffrey was fine going into the season, and now here we are, week 4, and we're probably not going to see him for another month and a half. And then after week 2, we were told Deebo Samuel was going to miss multiple weeks with a calf strain, and here we are, less than 2 weeks later. It looks like Deebo's going to return to the lineup. So I don't trust the San Francisco 49ers. I don't know if they're trying to play smoke and mirrors, but they're giving bad information every which way. Maybe this is a positive, real update that we can believe. If you have McCaffrey, I think you have no choice. I think you have to just hold and hope for the best because you're not going to get great value for him. So I think you just have to, I think you have no choice, to be honest. I think you just have to hold and hope for the best. All right. We're coming up against it. So I got to make sure I finish off the chat room. Drop any of these names for Bucky? Not Chase, not Gibbs, not Jacobs, not Kamara, not Deontay. Not JMO, not Chuba for one more week. Maybe DeAndre Hopkins, but honestly, I have a little bit of a trepidation with that as well, like a little bit of a reservation. Of this group, I would say either Hopkins or Worthy could be dropped for Bucky Irving. I don't know how many wide receivers you start. Do you start 2? Because then it's Chase and Deontay all day. If you start 3, then you might then that adds JMO to the mix, and then Hopkins and Worthy become a little bit more viable week to week. If you start 3 receivers, I think I would hold. If you start 2 receivers, I would maybe drop DeAndre Hopkins if you want to pick up Bucky Irving. I think that would be fine. But if you start 3 receivers, I have a little bit more pause making that move. Start 2? Yeah, all right. You could drop Hopkins to pick up Bucky Irving. I think that's okay because you have Chase, you have Deontay, you have JMO. You could trade for a wide receiver 3 if you really needed one, and you have interesting upside rookie guys in Adunze and Worthy. You could drop Hopkins for Bucky. That's fine. That's fine. I'm always a proponent of finding ways to add running back depth, so that's fine. Who do you? Man, these are some real deep dart throws at running back. I would keep what you have. I'm very intrigued by Roschon Johnson, but the Bears stink, and we don't even know we don't even know what his role could possibly expand to. I think you stick with Allen because at least we've seen him ball out in his limited opportunities anyway. I think you stick with I think you stick with Allen. That's what I would do. All right, we got 5 minutes left to go. I appreciate you subscribing. Thank you for thinking enough to subscribe to the channel. Appreciate that. Stick with Allen for now. Roshan is a stash and wait, and then Foreman and Hill. I'm not there yet with those guys. I like Justice Hill, but he just doesn't have the consistent role. Stick with Braylon Allen, and let's hope for the best. All right, we're at the end of the chat with 5 minutes to go. Best of luck, everybody. Enjoy the football. Enjoy your Sunday. Hopefully we get some wins. I will be live again on Tuesday, 6 p.m. Eastern for waiver wire discussion, maybe just a general fallout from week 4. And of course, if you've got anything else that you want to bring to the table, always taking your questions that are not start sit related on Tuesdays. That's a little too early to sort out start sit questions, but waivers, trades, general thoughts, whatever have you. Happy to take those on Tuesday, 6 p.m. Eastern. I will see you guys then. Enjoy the action. Best of luck. Let's get these dubs. Thanks, everybody.